Westmoreland Community Connections is a presentation of Citizens Fiber.
Welcome to Westmoreland Community Connections, a look at issues and happenings on Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. Here now is your host, Jennifer Miele, Chief Communications Officer and Managing Director of Evangelization of the Diocese of Greensburg.
Hello and welcome to Westmoreland Community Connections on WHJB. I'm your host, Jennifer Miele, the Chief Communications Officer and Managing Director of Evangelization for the Diocese of Greensburg. And with me today is one of my dearest friends and colleagues, Trooper Stephen Limani, who is the founder of Shop with a Cop. How are you, Trooper Steve?
Any day I get to talk to you is a great day.
All right. I'm so glad you're here with us. And it's a perfect time to have you on the show because it is the Christmas season. And the whole reason that you do what you do is the culmination of taking children out to shop with police officers who otherwise would not have the opportunity to have such wonderful gifts at Christmas. So before we get started with Shop with a Cop, let's talk a little bit about you. Tell us about where you grew up, what your education was, and how you ended up in the Pennsylvania State Police.
Oh, wow. So originally I'm from the Poconos. I went to Penn State. I received a bachelor's degree in criminal justice and took the state police test and ultimately ended up in the Pennsylvania State Police 23 years ago. And my career has taken me from the Poconos out to Somerset, where I landed. I worked there for about a year and a half. And then I've been in Greensburg for the past, holy cow, I've been in Greensburg for about 15 years as a trooper. And for the last 12 of those years, I've been doing public relations and community service. Some other cool things I did in my career, I had a chance to do drug interdiction work where you're in uniform, getting drugs off the highways. I had a chance to teach people that came out of the academy. I taught 13 different troopers, and I also did what they call accident reconstruction, where you're taking bad crashes and you're doing that stuff. But what's near and dear to my heart, I can't believe it, is public service. I never thought that of all the things I do, taking little kids Christmas shopping would be the thing that I love to do the most. And I've become passionate about it. And Southwestern Pennsylvania, the people out here are so incredible. I feel like they've adopted me as one of their own, even though I'm an out east cold cracker type kid.
Well, I'll tell you, you're a pretty visible guy. I mean, you don't turn on the news too often without seeing Trooper Limani's face, and also with all the good work that you do in the community as well. But that transition from accident reconstruction to state police spokesperson, how did that one happen?
You know, it's a great question. So the one thing about the accident reconstruction, it's all math, and I thought that I really enjoyed doing that. But there's a little bit of morbidity with that, because obviously the only reason why I'm there is because somebody passed away. And I saw myself like not always, like I'm an upbeat type guy, and this is not an upbeat type field. And I had a chance when Jeannie Martin, who I looked up to as a community service person, and I saw what she was doing in the community. I'm like, I really enjoy that. And I was a poor trailer park kid growing up. And one of the things that I would always go on incidents and see these poor kids, and I would be like, hey, like there's better things out there, and you're in a bad situation. And I just had an affinity for that group of children. And I thought, what a chance I might have to help them if I was truly dedicated to community service and public relations. And so when that job opened up, I interviewed for it. I was very fortunate that I received the job. And from that moment, I had some people around me that were very instrumental in helping me start the shopping program. Some really key people at some high organizations. And I had a media relations person that took me under her wing, and she was really good at helping me to try and brand myself. So kudos to her and all the help that she gave me. And you know who that person is.
Oh, that's very nice. Well, I remember, I don't know for our listeners if I can jog their memory a little bit, but there was a young lady named Trina Orlando, and she was the Westmoreland County Bureau Chief at KDKA at the same time that I was the Westmoreland County Bureau Chief for WTAE. And she and I were having dinner at Dino's in Latrobe one night, and this young, excited state trooper came over to us and said, "Hi, I'm Steve Limani, and I'm going to be the new spokesperson for the Pennsylvania State Police." And that was the first time that we officially met. And it's been a great relationship since, working with you in media and your transparency and your ability to communicate the good work being done with the state police, but also seeing you really challenge people in the community to step up whenever it's needed is very impressive. Now, this Shop with a Cop program is although the brand is different, you had been reading about programs that bridge the gap between young people and the police. And I think is that right? You were looking for a way to bridge that gap and help the less fortunate in the community. So when you went to your bosses and you said, hey, I want to start a shopping program for children, how did that go?
So I did. I walked into my boss's office. I said, hey, I have this great idea. And he looked at me and he's like, well, go have at it, kid. And I was like, yeah. He's like, how do you plan on doing that? I said, I have no idea yet. I said, but just give me some time and I'll try and figure it out. And as I tried to research programs online, the one that I saw that was most successful was there was a program in San Diego that spent $30,000 on children. And it was, I mean, obviously San Diego is this big metropolis. And I thought, holy cow, I had $2,000, my first year. And I was like, well, let's see what I could do with this $2,000 to try and take kids shopping. And the ongoing joke was so I decided, well, to get my most bang for my dollar, I just had a $50 gift card that I would give the police officer to tag along with the child shopping. Well, the police officers found out real quick, $50 doesn't go a long way. So they'd be in the store and the joke was, go shopping with Steve and be prepared to have your debit card with you because you're not going to have enough money to get the kid anything worthwhile.
Right. And they're going to end up paying for it. And they did step up at the beginning, right? They did. They all did.
They did.
Now, but then you put some significant infrastructure in place to raise funds. So let's go through step by step on a normal year, what those fundraisers are. What happens first?
Yeah, sure. So to go chronologically throughout the year, the first thing that we have is a gun bash in the spring. I have a group of guys that work really hard. That's kind of their niche and their thing. They are really good at coordinating that. That, unfortunately, this year was right when COVID started to take over and really, jeopardize a lot of people. And we were learning about it. And we made a decision to do it virtually. And as far as I know, around here, it was the first virtual thing that I saw take place. We normally generate between $10,000 to $14,000 during the course of the gun bash, but we were only able to do about $3,000, $4,000. So that was our first attempt at something. I felt it was better than canceling because at that point in time we had some tickets that were already sold. So
you had the tickets sold and the food was ordered and you did the takeout food, right? You did the takeout.
Yes, that's exactly what we did. Yeah, we did a takeout food system. And one of the things I thought, and I think it's a tribute to the people in Southwestern Pennsylvania, we had a lot of people that wanted to donate their meal to people that were less fortunate, that maybe at that point in time there was no relief funds and people were losing their jobs. And so we ended up donating about 25 meals that we took to different people's homes. And we had about 100 meals left over. And we had already made an arrangement with the Latrobe Hospital. And how ironic that was. They're about 100 people staffed at one time. And so we took those meals over and they had already known, and we fed the entire Latrobe Hospital during that time. And I thought, that made us feel good as an organization that with this leftover food, we still supported, we were able to support the restaurant that always supported us, right? So we were able to pay them, and we were able to support some needy families, and then we were able to take it to our hospital workers and we gave them the rest of the food. So that made us feel
wonderful. Good. That's wonderful. And at least the gun bash, because part of it's raising money, but part of it's raising awareness, right? So having a virtual option was the ability for people to see and understand who helps and why they do what they do. So then the gun bash happened. And then what would normally happen next during the year?
So then our next event would be the golf outing that we have. And the golf outing has been a huge success, and it's something we've had every year. There was some things I did because I was nervous about the golf outing even going through. So I reduced the price to try and make it more affordable for people just in case they were struggling financially. And we did a to-go system with the food because we were afraid of gatherings inside. So we just did a couple things to try and accommodate some of our golfers. It was still a success. We just not a financial success, probably. We just didn't do as well financially as we would do. But we did have a lot of support, and everybody seemed like they had a good time. And of course, I have no idea why, but the Monday after Labor Day is like the best weather day of the year, because we have had such success with the weather that day. So if you ever plan something, try planning the Monday after Labor Day to do one of your outdoor activities, because for some reason that always ends up being a great day.
Well, that's a good little tip for sure. So, and just like the gun bash, part of the golf outing, part of the money-making process, the fundraising process, is having people there, having people there and spending money and doing that. And you couldn't gather them. You had to spread them out all over the golf course. So that would pose a problem, or at least a challenge Yes. Okay. And then at Christmas time, there's a really fun event that normally happens at Christmas time. Is there not?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. It's, of all the things, it ended up being my most fun event to be at, right? It's an ugly sweater contest. So and when it first was brought to my attention to do this, I thought, ugly sweater contest. I'm like, what the heck can that possibly do? Or how can that work? And it's amazing. I have people that donate food. I have a photo booth. I have a DJ that volunteers their time. And we just charge a few dollars for tickets. And the entertainment is everybody's ugly, and I mean, there's some ugly ones, ugly sweaters contests, like all these Christmas. And I can't believe how much people get into it and how awesome it is. And I mean, it is literally a hoot walking around, just seeing everybody's ugly sweater and seeing how well they get into the event. And it raises a bunch of money. But this year we sat down and as an organization, and especially seeing what's been going on, we just had to cancel it. It was a heartbreaker. It's a financial breaker as well, but it was probably the best decision for everybody involved, and that's why we did it.
It is such a fun event. I've had the pleasure to judge the ugly sweater contests the last 2 years, and I always have a great time. I know you get a lot of food donated, a lot of prizes donated, and it's just such a fun night. And it's a shame because it makes people feel good over the holidays to know where their money is going and know that they're donating money to Shop with a Cop and still having a really great time to do that. So I know that was a difficult decision. And also that was probably a nice chunk of money. Was it not? A nice chunk of money?
Yeah. So the ugly sweater contest, I'm not going to lie to you, it ended up being one of our biggest fundraisers, where we would raise almost $20,000. And we, in a brainstorm to try and figure out how to recoup any of that type of money, we came up with a yard sign, and we were taking yard signs, and the yard sign basically says, I sponsored a child in 2020 for Shop with the Cop, and I've been going around sticking them in people's yards that donated, and we take now that $50 that I used to give, now it's $150 the children get to use. And so anybody that donated $150, we've been going out and sticking a yard sign in their yard. And so that's been what we've been trying to do to offset some of our financial difficulty that we've experienced this year. Wow.
And that's a long, $150 versus $20,000 is certainly a long way to go. And so for those of you who are just joining us, welcome to Westmoreland Community Connections on WHJB. I'm interviewing Trooper Stephen Limani, who is the founder of Shop with a Cop. And almost all of his events have been challenged by COVID-19. And every dollar he raises, let me assure you, there is no overhead. Every dollar he raises is what is being given to children at Christmas time to do that. So before we take our break here, Steve, how can people donate? How can they get in touch with you if they would like to donate to Shop with a Cop?
So, I mean, maybe because I'm an old guy, I like to have a personal connection with all the people. I really don't do Venmo and PayPal and all those things. I love to hear from people. If they want to contact me right here at the State Police Barracks in Greensburg, my office number is 724-832-6485. They can call me directly. I'd love to talk with them about opportunities to sponsor. If they just want to mail a check to the State Police Barracks, they can do that as well. Our address is 100 North Westmoreland Avenue in Greensburg, and it's PA obviously 15601, and the check we made payable to Shop with a Cop. And if they do want to purchase a yard sign, I've been taking, and again, because I'm so old, I rip the corner of the envelope where the return address is, and then they'll just randomly see a yard sign stuck in their yard because I've been driving around Westmoreland County, sticking these yard signs in people's yards all over the place. And, it just makes me happy to do it. I'm not going to lie to you. And if they want to contact us, our Facebook page is Shop with the Cop NPO. I really, really love it when they take a picture with their family with the yard sign in front of their house. To me, that shows that they have some pride in the shopping program and what they did to help take a child shopping that wouldn't have had a chance to go otherwise.
You're listening to Westmoreland Community Connections on WHJB.
This is Westmoreland Community Connections on Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. If you have a suggestion for a topic, or if your nonprofit organization would like to be featured on this program, call us during regular business hours at 724-216-1200.
Westmoreland Community Connections is a presentation of Citizens Fiber.
Welcome back to Westmoreland Community Connections on WHJB. My guest today is Trooper Stephen Limani, the founder of Shop with a Cop. So much energy in everything that you do, Steve. It's impressive, and it makes me feel like I need to get up and do more. And hopefully everyone at home who's listening today feels the same way. Steve founded Shop with a Cop several years ago, but this year has been the most challenging time. Almost all of his fundraisers were impeded by COVID-19. It's created a great challenge and a great deficit this year in helping children shop with a cop. So I'm going to rewind back to 2019, Steve, and I'm going to ask you to rattle your brain for some data, okay? So how many kids were you taking shopping, and how much did you spend last Christmas?
Yeah, so we took just over 300 children shopping last year, and that adds up to about $50,000 at the end of the year. We hit 6 different Walmarts, which that's how many are in Westmoreland County. So it takes us 3 days to do the shopping. We start down in the southern part of the county, and we'll be down in the Rostraver area. So we'll go to that Walmart first. Then we move over to the Mount Pleasant Walmart. We're able to tackle those 2 in one day. And then we hit more of the eastern and center part of the county with the Latrobe Walmart and the Greensburg Walmart. And from there, we hit the northern and western part of the county. We go to Delmont and Irwin, North Huntington. We hit those 2 Walmarts on Wednesday. And when it's all said and done and the dust settles, I will have about 30 different police departments that showed up to participate, which I think the police officers, not going to lie, they might like it just as much or more than some of the children. They turn into children themselves, and I think it makes them feel great to walk around and spend time with the kids. And it's fun. It's challenging. It's a lot of work, but I'm telling you, I can't believe that in the 23 years of being a police officer, it's the most fun thing I've ever done. It is, and it's the best thing and most rewarding. And I look forward to it every year. Like this time of year, like I feel like I'm more ramped up for this than I am for my own Christmas at my house, which is probably bad, but I just look forward to it so much.
No, but the lesson here is that giving feels better than receiving. And that's the whole message of Christmas, the whole point of Christmas and the holiday season, which is so wonderful. Steve, how do you find these young people that you're taking shopping? What is the process for something like that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I, in an effort to make sure that I got the child that I thought deserved to go shopping, I created a business card. And on the business card, it says, "Congratulations, I'd like to nominate you to the Shop with the Cop program." I took that business card and I made thousands of them, right? So, and then I went to the chiefs of police meeting and I distributed them to every single police department in Westmoreland County. So all the police officers are able to take this business card, put it in their pocket. And then if they meet a child, whether it be at a car crash, a domestic, some situation that the child, you had this relationship with this child and you're like, oh, this is, it's an unfortunate circumstance. You're meeting them there for a rape, something horrific, right? And now you have a chance to hand this to their parent, to the child, even if they're old enough, and say, hey, listen, why don't you and I get together later on and we'll go Christmas shopping? Maybe I'm meeting in February, but hold on to this card, get a hold of me, and we'll go shopping at Christmas time. So that's about 60 to 70% of my children. That's how they come. They're driven specifically through law enforcement contact. The other sector will be from children and youth services, guidance counselors at schools, and other type of similar organizations where these people or, kind of like overseers of children have contact. And that'll probably be maybe the other 30%. And then that last, or 20%. And then that last little bit, I have it on my website that if somebody wanted to nominate a child, because obviously we're not going to know of every single case. Somebody can go on there, and they can go on there in my website, which is westmorelandshopwiththecop.org. They can go into the shopping day tab, and there's a questionnaire that you could submit. Or excuse me, there's an application with a couple questions on there that you could submit. I think there may be 4 or 5 questions. And if you could submit that, I have a board of directors. It's the same amount of civilians as police officers, just a couple simple questions. And if they say it's okay, just anybody from the community could actually nominate a kid. One thing that we don't do is we can't take self-nominations. We just can't afford that. Right. So we don't take any self-nominations, but we're always looking to hear about people that maybe you need that we don't know about. And I'd be honored to take the child shopping.
That is tremendous. Now, this year, the procedures for gathering have changed quite a bit because of COVID-19. So you are thinking outside the box in terms of how you're going to operationalize these shopping trips. Is that right?
Yeah. So, as things have been changing, we've been learning more about things, and some different restrictions have happened. I've had a couple people call me and say, well, geez, are we going to have to cancel Shop with the Cop? And I thought, oh my God, I could never let all these kids down. There's no way I could I've had people calling me in the beginning of November. I've never had that. People calling me about problems they're having, losses, never being able to afford Christmas. And so as much, as I definitely am worried, and I'm concerned about making sure that we don't have any people get infected because of things we're doing or decisions we're making. I welcome the challenge to make sure that we're safe. And so we are going to make sure that we keep distance. We're going to make sure that maybe we're having to extend the hours of when we're going to shop, maybe change the hours so that there's less people in the stores. I've already been in contact with the Walmarts. I feel like they're on board with making it safe, but yet still giving a Christmas to these children that absolutely need it. So we're definitely going to have a different look to Shop with the Cop this year, but there's no way I'm not going to let these children go without having Christmas gifts and missing out on a holiday that they wouldn't have otherwise.
You're listening to Trooper Stephen Limani. He is the founder of Shop with a Cop, and he is our guest today on Westmoreland Community Connections on WHJB. Of course, his charity supports children at Christmas time. Police officers from all over Western Pennsylvania join him at area Walmarts to take these young people shopping. These are individuals who have been through traumatic events, perhaps victims of crimes, perhaps been involved, or have family members who were victims of crimes. And this is an opportunity to bridge a bond between our friends in the state police and young people in Western Pennsylvania. It's been a great run. What year are you on now, Steve?
This is year number 13.
Wow. Of course, lucky 13. There you go. And
right.
Dealing with COVID right now. So you started out your first year, you took a few kids shopping. Do you remember how many you took? $50 a piece. How many did you take?
20.
You took 20 kids at $50 a piece. And last year you were up to 300 children at $150 a piece at area Walmarts. This year's going to be a challenge, no doubt about it. So without the fundraisers that you have, I guess you're pulling on some other net assets and encouraging people to donate in another way. But ultimately, I think your goal is to, create a foundation here, right? I mean, that's your ultimate goal, is someday to get to that point where you have, a fixed amount of net assets and that you're drawing down on a foundation instead.
So it's funny you bring that up. I'm a short timer, as they call us in law enforcement, right? So I only have a few more years left. And my goal would be, if I'm able to get enough money set aside, I will be able to put it in a trust that will pay Shop with a Cop until infinity. So when I no longer grace this earth, there'll be other people that can continue to carry it on indefinitely. And that's going to be my goal. That was my goal when I started.
And one of your biggest fans and biggest donors was Arnold Palmer.
Yeah. So, wow, you're going to get me all emotional here. So
yeah.
I was very fortunate during my police career to be sort of taken under the wing of that family. And Mr. Palmer specifically was very generous and courteous to me. And during one lunch where we were sitting down, I was talking to his wife, and we were talking about the Shop with a Cop, and he had known that I was doing things in the community, and every once in a while he would cut something out of the Latrobe Bulletin when I'd walk into his office. He'd be like, I was eating breakfast and look what I almost choked. I had to look at this ugly face, and he would be picking on me, and he cut the darn thing out of the paper, right? So like Mr. Palmer doing that, like, so I'd walk in his office, and so I got a call from a very good friend of mine, Bob, who was working at the office, and he said, hey, Mr. Palmer wrote you a check, and I'd like you to come up here and get it. So I went to the office, and of course he handed me an envelope, and I'd gone to see Mr. Palmer, and I got the envelope, and I'm just dying to rip this thing open, right? Because I get $100 is like a big deal for me, and I'm thinking, boy, I wonder if I got like maybe $1,000 or something like that.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
so I'm like, this will be great, So I go out in the car, and I just backed it out of the way so they couldn't see me rip the envelope open, right? So I rip it open, and I look, and there was a letter in there, and I saved the letter. It's actually hanging on my wall in my office, and it just basically, the nuts and bolts of it was, thank you for everything you're doing for the community. Stop trying to save money, because I was trying to save a little bit of money. He's like, stop trying to save money. He's like, take this and put it aside for a rainy day in case something ever happens. And I appreciate everything you're doing for the community. Keep doing it. And I looked, and the check was for $50,000.
Oh my goodness. Oh
and
my
I started.
That's more than a year's worth of fundraising. Yeah.
Yeah. I started tearing up. I literally like my eyes swelled with water. I was like, I can't believe that guy took enough. And then I said, well, how do I make it up to him? Like, what do I do? Do I make this public? What do I do to? And he's like, nothing, do nothing. So I wrote him a note back. And said, thank you. But that was nothing compared to what he did for me.
Wow. And I'm sure you're happy to honor his memory by telling people that story, and hopefully it inspires others. And I always say that I think there is just a great gift in anonymous giving as there is in sponsorships. It's wonderful to be recognized for sponsoring good things that are happening in the community, but when you can get to a point where you can give anonymously like that and not worry about the accolades, there's really something to be said about that. And, seeing you in the Latrobe Bulletin and on the news and using your media contacts to publicize this is also an awesome addition. I mean, all of your friends in the media are really good about getting the word out about this, don't you think?
Oh, I couldn't be any luckier to have the group of people I have. Let's face it. First, it started with you and Trina, right? And you helping me. No, seriously. And you guys helping me to be like, oh, well, here's how you got to do it. And, here's how you do this. And this will help you do that. So I've had a network of people that started with you guys to help teach me how to be better and how to show what you're doing, how to show what the state police is doing. I didn't sign up for the state police for health benefits and a paycheck. I signed up to state police to help people. I grew up in a trailer park with nothing. Like, whatever I get paid is fine. I've always had 2 jobs. I don't care. Like, that's as long as I just keep doing well by people, that's all I really care about. And so to have the group of people that I have now, I have, Ross is great. Like I have, Melanie, like pick the person, Jim. I don't want to leave anybody out, but pick them. The newspaper article, the radio show, right? WHAB, like every person I've been around has always been so good and kind to me, to the shopping program. Like, I couldn't be any luckier, and I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I don't know if it's like this everywhere else. I'm not that I've lived in a ton of places, but I started off in the eastern part of the state. I bounced around a little bit. Southwestern Pennsylvania people are the nicest people on the planet, and I am so lucky to live in this community.
This has been a wonderful discussion with Trooper Stephen Limani, who is the founder of Shop with a Cop. His goal, once again, is to be where he was last year, taking 300 children shopping at Christmas time, spending an average of $150 per child. But he certainly needs your help to be able to do that this year. Many of his fundraisers have either been canceled or impeded because of COVID-19, which is one of the reasons we had him on the show. So this is your opportunity. You can log on to Shop with a Cop NPO on Facebook. That NPO stands for Nonprofit Organization. They're looking forward to hearing from you. Reach out to the State Police Barracks. Checks can be mailed right to the State Police Barracks, but also you can reach out on Facebook. Steve, thank you so much, and blessings and best of luck with your shopping this holiday season.
Oh, Jen, thank you so much for having me on the show. I greatly appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to sit down and talk with you. And hey, have a great holiday season, right? And Merry Christmas to you and your family.
You too, Steve. And thanks for listening to Westmoreland Community Connections on WHJB.
This has been Westmoreland Community Connections, a look at issues and happenings in and around Westmoreland County. Join us again next week on Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB.
Westmoreland Community Connections is a presentation of Citizens Fiber.